All right, so happy Wednesday, everyone, and thank you for jumping on. As you can see, we have a rockstar art of homeownership professional on with us today, Eric Bibel. He has been killing it in his market. He's in Southern California, and we've just been seeing his business and watching the growth. So we wanted to get him on here. He's implementing art of homeownership and implementing it with agents and his clients. So we wanted to get him on here and just hear about his strategy, the different things that he's doing, especially with the volatile market, how it is right now. And hopefully some actionable things that our partners can take away and implement themselves. So Eric, thank you so much for jumping on with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Val, and such an honor and pleasure to be here. And no, as you said, I mean, we're seeing, despite the turbulence that our industry is facing, we've been able to really kind of suppress the noise and carve out unique opportunities to maintain momentum and maintain a healthy mix of business. And I attribute a lot to kind of the offerings that AOH has to offer and the unique kind of proposition that it awards not only our referral partners, but most importantly, the clients that we serve. And it's being, well received in market in this current context.
Right. Well, so jumping into it, is that an intentional strategy that you had going into this, was like really relying on art of homeownership, or did that come a little bit later when you're like, okay, things need to be picking up, let's like really implement this and see where it goes? Were you really implementing the system before the market kind of, I don't want to say crashed, but like was slower? Were you already implementing the system and the business kind of came after it?
Great question. And, I've been, I would say, an early adopter of AOH. And on that, even in the boom, the mindset around the unique offering that Art of Homeownership provided, we had, thoroughly adopted, and we're taking to market at an exponential rate and converging with kind of the market shift, if you want to call it. We leaned into it even heavier due to the fact of, what value proposition you could provide, or we could provide, I should say, to our clients and referral partners. It just, we leaned on it even more as the market became more volatile and shifted in this kind of new normal, if you want to call it.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize that because I think when things are getting tough and there's not as much business coming in, I think the initial reaction for people is to pull back and be doing less. But when the market does get tough, that's when we as Art of Homeownership partners, like our value goes up so much because there's not a lot of business out there. So they want to be picking the most high value person. And if you have that value that's different than everyone else in your market, then you're going to be winning that business. So I just want to touch on that because I really like that you said you kind of leaned on it more when the market started to pull back.
Definitely. And you brought up a great point, and not to cut you off, Val, but fear is it's a reality. There is, not only fear on the originator's perspective right now, and has been really since, early 2022, but our referral partners are operating in a state of fear and have been for that same amount of time. But most importantly, the end user, the client, is in a state of paralysis. So the, teachings, the articles, the experience, whatever you want to call it, that we have access to here at AOH is really what we're leaning on to provide that kind of counter to fear, which is creating action from our clients.
Right. Educating and making them feel like they know what the plan is going forward. They know what the market is doing. I think that's a big missing piece, especially when a client kind of makes that decision for themselves without even consulting anyone, and they're missing out because they're not getting into the market just because of that fear. So when they get in touch with the mortgage professional, like that is your time to educate and make sure that they know the value of getting into the real estate market.
Absolutely.
So Eric, for right now, I know you said that you started leaning on Art of Homeownership a little bit more when the market was pulling back, but what is your kind of high level strategy right now? What are you really focusing on in order to be bringing business in?
So really the main focus that we've taken over the last, I would say now 5 months is around market planning. Really what we've taken to market is we want from new referral partners, clients that said no last year. And I'm kind of calling it, we want your trash leads, and really taking the client, once we get that introduction, through, a person that said, yes, I'm interested, but I pulled back because, we were beat out, prices we feel are going to crash, or interest rates are too high, or I can't sell because my rate's too low and I don't want to go into something too high. Those are the clients that we want to speak to right now, because there is such a unique opportunity in market with what we see on the other side of kind of the cycle that we're in now. So leaning a lot on the experience platform that we have here has really enabled us to gain more at bats, and in turn operate at a higher conversion rate. And that has awarded newer opportunities in that, hey, if we're able to convert somebody that said no 6-9 months ago, what about the people that are saying yes today? Let's get an at bat with them and show them the true value of what's on the other side of this, is really where we're seeing, massive pull through right now.
Right. Okay, I want to dig into this a little more just because I want it to be pretty tactical. So the agents that you're reaching out to get those trash leads, if you will, are those agents that you were already partnered with and working with, or are these partners that you want to start working with and you want to get their better leads? So you're just kind of getting your foot in the door with those leads that said no.
Twofold. We started with partners that we have worked with, that we weren't getting all of their business, and kind of as a reignite into today's market was, hey, introduce us to the people that you were working with last year. We found that was working and gaining traction through, some of the presentations that we put together to walk the client through. And then we went back to the drawing board and said, what about the agents that we're not working with? Ones that we may have done a transaction with where they were the listing agent, let's go after them and show them concept around what we're implementing, the strategies that we're talking through, and the planning aspect, and see if there's opportunities there. And it has just exploded on our end.
And the outreach to those agents that you weren't working with or weren't doing a lot of business with, what kind of worked for you as far as the outreach and like getting in touch with them? Are you like that initial interaction, are you doing a presentation to them and showing them the value proposition and the platform, et cetera, and then introduce to their clients?
Correct. So we're a couple different presentation points that we've put together, hosting webinars and getting people to engage, specifically agents, and walking them through our process. I mean, right now, unlike any other time that I've been in this business, agents being receptive to a counter narrative and something that, hey, do you want more activity without having to generate new leads? That's kind of the hook that we're using.
Yeah.
It's open market right now because everything is saying the opposite. And it's, hey, pay for this lead, pay for this service. And it's like, hey, I'm going to give you your database, people that you've already engaged with, and exactly what to say, how to say it, to create a new opportunity for you without having to spend new dollars.
Right.
And that has been received wonderfully.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm curious because I think some agents are notorious for not keeping track of things the way that they should be. So have you found any agents that you're reaching out to that, aren't necessarily keeping track of those people that said no? Or are they these are like high dollar agents, so they're pretty well.
Yes and no, but I mean, even the high dollar agents, I mean, let's be real here. The market has been hot for the last 10 plus years. Systems, processes have not, where, yes, we all say, hey, yeah, I have a system, I have a CRM, I do follow up, blah, blah, blah. But the reality was the market was on fire, and there was an abundance of individuals that if this person said no, well, there's 10 more that will say yes.
Right.
So, going through this, whether it had been, $100 million producer or a $10 million producer, the follow-up and kind of tracking, it has kind of reshaped the focus. And there, we're really leaning on like, how can we leverage our technology to allow you to self-monitor, your conversion points, your input. So it's not like just, on a sheet of paper or kind of in your
Right.
head. So
Right.
that too is, something unique.
Yeah. We have someone asking about the presentation that you use. Are you open to sending that?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
100%.
Um,
Most people have already seen it, especially on the Neo side of things, but open to share it to the group as well.
that's awesome. Thank you. How long have you been leveraging art of homeownership in general? And how has that strategy, like, feel free to talk about what didn't work for you if you tried a certain strategy with the platform and it, was not successful. But how has that strategy kind of shifted since you've been really implementing the platform?
So I signed on with AOH, what was it? I think it was December of 2020, and really started leaning into the process in Q1 of 21.
Okay.
And I mean, as soon as we started showing just the general framework to referral partners that we were already working with, it was just so well received. Full adaptation of AOH came over the summer months of 21. And from there, we've just exponentially grown upon and really, really leaned into. And it really just comes down to, making the mindset shift from being a loan originator to a mortgage planner and advisor is really where we've kind of leaned into the technology. And that is really where AOH comes, is we want to be the most influential advisor on the real estate side of things in that individual's life. And the platform of AOH that allows us to do it from, the transaction is important, those 30 days or whatever the time frame is for closing, but what the platform awards after the fact, the strategic planning, wealth creation, opportunities to restructure the debt, purchase new properties, whatever it may be, and all those connection points after the fact, that is where we have really, really leaned into. And especially now where rates are elevated, people are still transacting, there is so much opportunity with the clients that we've served over the last now 3 years, unlike anything we've seen before. There's going to be, massive amounts of equity, massive potential for refinances, and individuals that are going to need that equity to, alleviate debt that they've kind of come under from, the pending recession. So really focusing in on what happens after the transaction and all the components of AOH provides within that is really where we're seeing, massive advantage right now.
And do you see that more so, like, when you were first kind of leaning on the value proposition, were you seeing more success on the agent side of things? And I know you said that you did initially like present and show them that value proposition, but then on the client side of things, what did you see? What differences did you see? So was it like higher conversions? Was it getting more referrals? Like, what were kind of the benefits and the differences in your business that you saw?
Great question. So definitely this was initially rolled out more so as an opportunity to gain more referrals. So really leaned on the agent presence. And, the reality is there's a lot of talk in our industry around, how we're different, what loan originators do. But in reality, it's what rate can you offer? How fast can you close? Perfect. Yep. And, in a transitioning market like we've seen now over the last year and a half, that means nothing.
Right.
It's what we're going to do after the fact. And once that concept really resonated with me, and the value that we can provide our referral partners of, let me be your converter, let me be your follow-up machine, let me move the needle on your behalf with the lever, with the technology and resources that we have here, it was lights out. I mean, that piece alone from the referral aspect moved the needle massively. And then on top of that, the client interaction, if you get a client that said no to now say yes, and what sphere of influence that individual has, I mean, the referrals now come, obviously the referral agent, but leveraging the transactions and clients that you're working with now, based on the information you're providing these people, it just exponentially explodes.
Right. And there was a question that came through, but I'm going to transition into this next question, and then we'll get to this in a little bit. Because you hit on the referral piece. So I'd like to know from more of a high level, you don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but what is that loan process? So when you're bringing a client in, like, what are the different steps that you're hitting on? And then how are you asking, or at what point are you asking for a referral?
Great question. So loan process, I mean, we're following really, the Neo experience. And I know I don't want to lean on that too hard, but it's really the art of home ownership experience, where we're wanting to understand the client's goals and expectations before we even start going through kind of the nuances of financing, and really understanding what the client is looking to achieve, addressing their fears, their concerns up front is really where we're seeing, a transition. Whereas, rewind 2020, okay, what rate, what are your fees? Perfect. Send me your stuff. See you later. Now it's okay. What are your fears? Why do you not feel now is the appropriate time to act? Okay, here's everything that we're seeing, taking them through that process, understanding what the end result goal is for that individual, and then moving them through the approval process, getting them engaged with the agent, getting them engaged with shopping. So it's definitely been a transition. It's more work, undoubtedly. It is a ton of work right now. But the stickiness of not only the referral partner, but most importantly, the client, rarely are we getting shopped. We're taking less concession up front. We're seeing higher revenue, which is, at the end of the day, we're creating an incredibly sustainable, healthy business. And I again attribute it back to the processes that we're implementing now.
And are you doing that full loan process, or how many people do you have on your team that's kind of doing some of the lifting with the initial dreams and goals call and some of those touch points throughout the loan process?
So, I mean, I'm doing a lot of it. So to be completely honest, and it comes down to just the transition with the market where it was. I had a team of 7, now it's a team of 3.
Yeah.
So I am leaning on my 2 partners to assist with a lot of the kind of the basic tasks, but as far as the actual client conversion, client handholding up front is 100% on me.
Okay. And sorry if you touched on this, but so at what point are you, or I should say, kind of how are you positioning it when you're asking for that referral? So when you get to the end of the loan process, is it a straight up, like, do you have any friends or family that could leverage like use my knowledge or go through this experience? Or how are you really positioning that to the client?
Great question. And it happens at multiple iterations.
Okay.
At first, it's a very soft introduction in that, we're not, just outright, I'm not outright asking, hey, give me, people that
Right.
It's once I've established a kind of a connection where, they're engaging, they feel committed, there's, connection. I'm asking, hey, at this point in time, I look at it as when you're shopping for a car, you get hooked on whatever vehicle that you're considering, and you see it everywhere that you go. Same is true in this instance. If there's anyone that you come across that is experiencing or wanting to experience what you're going through, and you feel that the value we've provided could be beneficial to that individual, we would love the introduction. Outright state that we operate 100% off referrals. That is how our business is centered. So if there is anyone that you feel that can benefit from it, we'd love an introduction. So it's brought up really after kind of the initial consultation. It's done so again once the client is formally pre-approved, and then throughout the process, it's integrated yet again, and then again at closing.
Okay, perfect. And I think we're at the point, yeah. So the question that came through, and this is something that I wanted to touch on anyway. Which portion of the, I'll say the whole value proposition in general, but then also the platform itself, so the different tools and pieces of Art of Homeownership, which part do you see agents find the most valuable or the most like impressed by when you're pitching to them?
HomeBot, 100%. HomeBot is since its inception prior to AOH, I was using HomeBot. Was one of the earlier adapters of HomeBot. That is the number one touch point. It's sleek, clients love it, realtors love it. It's, again, we're at a point where, the kind of the uniqueness or the benefit of, refinance opportunities, they're unfortunately not there at this moment, but to have consistent, personalized interaction specific to that client, specific to their home, with both the agent and the originator connected for any questions that may come up. Agents absolutely thrive on HomeBot, as do clients. It's every month when the Wealth Digest gets sent out, there's a minimum of 5 to 6 emails of people saying, "Oh my God, this is so amazing. Thank you." That updater's been incredibly well received, especially in our market, San Diego, with all the different municipalities, with from mail to utilities getting set up with movers. Updater's been incredibly well received, and those two I would say are the biggest standouts for us.
I want to hit that home because I think a lot of people aren't super intentional about integrating Updater in their loan process. Maybe it's mentioned, maybe you introduce it to the client, but to really make sure that they're engaging with it is really valuable, because we've gotten, I think it was Jewel Marsh, I'm not sure if he's on with us today. When we had him on and we interviewed him, he said the same thing. Like when he was introducing it to clients, even if he didn't mention it to the agent that was working on the deal, even the client mentioning it to them, like, wow, thanks for, offering this to us. This is great. The agents were calling him like, what are you offering them to help them move? We've never seen anything like this before. And it strengthened a lot of his realtor relationship. So if you don't currently have that in your process and you're not being intentional about getting your clients to use that, that's a big opportunity. And I would say that session with Jewel a few weeks ago is a good one to go back, because I think he talked about how he introduces it to clients, how he encourages them to actually use it. So definitely, if you're missing that, that's a big opportunity.
For sure. And it comes down to simplification. There is so much happening in a move for a client, especially a contingent buyer, and having to think, okay, trash, utilities, mail. I mean, the list goes on and on, finding movers, all of that. And they, typically have to go and figure that on their own, ask their agent may not know, so on and so forth. Having one centralized piece provided by you, the originator, for free to the client. I was talking to one last night, a client that just went into escrow, and they were like, "Wow, Eric, dude, this is amazing. Thank you so much. This just made our life so much easier." So if you're not introducing it, we introduce it at the contract meeting. Just say you'll be getting an email in regards to this. Any questions, feel free to reach out, but here's what it does. It's been incredibly well received.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, shifting gears a little bit. Have you really leaned on the portion of Art of Homeownership as far as getting strategic partners into your ecosystem, if you will, and having financial advisors and CPAs that you partner with?
Absolutely. One of the the biggest leverage points are right now CPAs and financial planners. We've kind of taken it one step farther with divorce attorneys. Just spoke to a client last week through kind of a strategic partnership with the divorce attorney. Best thing about divorce attorneys is, as evil as this sounds, divorces do not follow market trends. It literally does not matter what's happening in the market. Once the divorce is set and the judge orders the home to be sold and they have to go their separate ways, it's done. And if you're introduced by that person as a trusted advisor, it's the best referral. So using the platform to show what we're doing, how we're planning, how we're creating engagement from CPAs, financial planners, divorce attorneys, it's a massive level up. Because I can tell you, I mean, the CPAs that we're working with right now, they're getting inundated by loan officers because the referrals from real estate agents are cold. So looking at CPAs or whatever other financial services there are, and if you're not able to bring a very solid offer and value add, the CPA, if they're halfway decent, financial planner, divorce attorney, they're not going to give you the time of day. And, you know, the strategic partnership strategies that AOH has implemented, there's so much up level. When, you know, you even just show a CPA or financial advisor the HomeBot aspect, the wealth digest, they're like, oh my gosh, this is lights out. No one else is doing this.
Yeah. And those financial advisor partnerships that you have, because we've kind of heard two different strategies. I think Danny actually touched on this. So the way that Danny framed it up was you should have really 3 financial advisors that you refer to people to go to. And the other, you can have more financial advisor partnerships, but it's more of, hey, I'll help your clients build more wealth with their real estate, and that will give you more opportunity to help them manage their wealth. So what does that relationship with you look like? Do you just keep it, you know, referral, like exchanging referrals, or do you have more than 3 financial advisors that you partner with?
Right now, we have 6 that I am working with, and it's 3 that are in my market here in Southern California, and the other 3 are in a few other markets that we're emerging into.
Okay.
So it's effectively, yes, we're working with the 3 that are here, and it comes down to kind of entry level, if you want to call it, someone that is, you know, first time home buyer looking to plan. There's one individual. We refer that individual, every person that comes into this sector. And then kind of middle, you know, move up buyer. And then the last is kind of our wealthy individuals, to put it bluntly. And, you know, it's kind of the wealth advisor, multiple homes, large portfolio, you know, just, hey, here's a second look, someone who's doing some unique things. And it's give and take. We provide opportunities. They come across opportunities. They send them back as well. We're seeing, especially December timeframe, close of the year, we picked up a number of clients that had to purchase real estate from, you know, a tax strategy point.
Okay.
So again, it's those referrals are hands down the best referrals, because if you're paying for advice from your financial advisor and they say, call Eric,
Yeah.
he's going to tell you what to do. That's it. They're not going to go to Rocket. They're not going to go to, you know, Chop Rate Shop. They're going to go with the person that they're paying thousands and thousands of dollars to, because they trust them. So it's I mean, hands down, if you're not looking or getting into that referral network, especially now, you're costing yourself massive opportunity.
Yeah.
And they don't work weekends.
And with the wealthier clients that are coming to you, do you find a lot of the time, because I would assume that those individuals are already working with a financial advisor. So is it you asking them, hey, are you happy with your financial advisor, and potentially referring them to the advisor that you're partnered with? Or do you get a lot of them coming to you that don't work with anyone at all?
There's a lot of the individuals we work with the larger institutions. I won't
Right.
name names, where it's kind of hey, I pick up the 800 number. I've got a big portfolio, but not big enough to be kind of at the top of their list. So it's kind of just, it is what it is. Whoever picks up the phone, that's, ample opportunity to refer to our partner. But if we are getting engaged with someone who already has a great relationship with their advisor, we're asking for the referral to the advisor then as well.
Right. Awesome. Okay, we have a question here. We have one more question to address, but I'm going to open it up now. So if anyone has any questions for Eric about his process or anything that we went over today, feel free to put it in the Q&A. And Ken is asking, which we might have touched on this already. Eric, you're conducting those contract meetings yourself, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, so again, feel free to put any questions in the Q&A, but Eric, I want to ask you, if you think back to when you first started implementing the system, and it can be overwhelming for some people because of the different tools and integrating it into your business and the different touch points throughout the loan, but what would be your one piece of advice for someone who is looking to, maybe they don't feel like they're implementing it at the highest level right now, or they just want to kind of hit that next level? What would be your word of advice to them?
Word of advice would be to digest all the information. I mean, everything in here absolutely works and provides value in any market. But as an early adopter, I would say the biggest thing to lean on is HomeBot. HomeBot is incredibly well received, not only from the client, but also from the referral partner. If that is the only thing that you're focusing in on, for right now and building, really understand how it works, customize the videos, really lean into that aspect. Is that when refis were booming, that was the #1 referral source for us for refinances, but it also is the constant top of mind for the client and the conduit to the agent. It's bar none. You become the authority figure.
Right.
With HomeBot.
Now, are you going into HomeBot on the back end of things and looking at client activity and taking any action on that, or are you kind of letting them come to you?
Absolutely. To the first part.
Okay.
They send a recap every week. Most engaged clients, that comes every Monday morning. I'm in there every Friday, just kind of watching, what is reviewed, using that as an opportunity to reach out. If somebody's clicking into multiple markets, it's for a reason, and it gives you an opportunity to reach out as a check-in. If they're having to come to us, we did not do our job correctly. We want to proactively engage, and the technology that we're utilizing allows us to monitor with, an intelligent reach to understand, okay, what can we talk about? Why can I call this person? Constant, talking with multiple originators right now. The biggest thing is, hey, the phones are dead. Well, there's a ton of opportunity out there. You just need to know where to look for it. And if you're, adopting the platform using just the HomeBot piece, past clients, there's absolutely activity to be had. You just need to know how and where to exploit.
Yeah. And just having a reason to call, because that's a lot of people, they don't know what to say. So just having some sort of value and some sort of conversation to be had is, a huge advantage in itself.
For sure.
All right. Well, I did not see any questions come through, so we will go ahead and wrap it up. But Eric, I cannot thank you enough. This was so valuable. So much good insight just on both the agent side and the client side, getting people engaged and getting them to buy into the value proposition. Now, again, is not the time to be pulling back on the value. It's the time to be hitting the gas and moving forward. So I love that you're kind of adopting that mindset. Actually, Matt Hennessy made it just in the nick of time. Eric, as you introduce the Art of Homeownership offerings in the beginning stage to show value, how do you specifically let each potential client know throughout the process the benefits of HomeBot, HomeBinder, etc.? Show videos to them at certain milestones, trying to get more to adopt what we have. Okay, so how are you showing the value and then really getting them to buy into it? Like, are you doing that on a visual level throughout the loan process?
Great question, and it's kind of unique to each individual. I've less is more upfront, and it's really a lot of listening and understanding the customer's pain points, especially in today's market. You don't want to just lead with, hey, here's all the cool stuff we have, and not have something in your tool, arsenal to be able to combat an objection. So I introduce up front, look, we're not just here as a means to close in the next 30 days and say goodbye. There's a very specific process we follow where our true relationship starts after we close. And if they ask, well, what does that mean? Then the introduction is there. We start talking through at a high level of what that looks like. If the client kind of brushes over it, then I know, okay, we're going to touch on this as we navigate through the process more. And at first it was, hey, show everything. And I found it was just too much information overload. And just the client was like, well, I don't understand how this works, especially a first-time home buyer. So it's really kind of being receptive to the client's needs and understanding when it's appropriate to start showing, hey, well, you said this, well, look at what I have. This is how it's going to benefit you and when.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to Matt's question, we have heard from other partners that the visual part of it is very valuable and they're receptive to it, because when they see what it actually looks like and how it can benefit them, I think it's received totally different than just hearing about it. Um,
Mhm.
so both that and also like personal experiences. So we always tell people, go in and make an account for yourself using a personal email and interact with it. Make sure that you know the different tools. And if you're using that for yourself and then telling them firsthand how it's benefited you, that's also going to be, an aspect that really resonates with them and will encourage them to engage with it more.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, well, I think that is it. So thank you everyone for jumping on. Again, Eric, thank you so much. And if we could get that realtor presentation, we could get that out to everyone to just
Perfect.
see how Eric is pitching this to agents, because it seems like it's really been working for him.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me, and continue to kill it, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.